I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
If you would like to get your song reviewed, dear listener, there's the filthy capitalist option. As Sori says, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line. You don't have to be a part of the alliance. You don't have to be part of the group.
Wait a minute.
And the biggest thing is you don't have to wait. You hop, skip, and jump right in front of everybody. $125 gets you there. You do that 3 times, and then get mashed down to the $75 rate for perpetuity.
Yes!
Also, there is a band review option. So if you've got a band and you're trying to get your band some exposure, hit me up at vinsori@gmail.com and I'll show you the details about how to pull that off.
You can also jump on Patreon, and there is a option on the tiers to be able to get your band reviewed. Yep. Obviously, we can't lie to you, so we can't guarantee a positive review. Get what you get.
It's just rubbish.
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 That's British for garbage.
My favorite is the community option. $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon. You get to join an alliance. The alliance joins their points together, and that helps determine what songs that we do.
The alliances hang out on Discord.
Message me on Patreon to get the link.
And they do all kinds of other cool things. They do Minecraft, Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. It's really a community within the community. Anybody can go on the village, facebook.com/Vin and Sori. There's 160,000+ people on the channel. What's cool about the Discord is that it offers a real opportunity for community connection, friendship, that type of thing.
And it's on Discord, so if you're not a Facebook person, it's for you.
You start off at $1.
Right.
Plus you get exclusives. Sori and I are working on a song. So the first 15 seconds of that was on Patreon. Also, at $15 tier and above, when we actually debut the video, they're going to be there live with us. There you are, dear listener.
Buy merch. Hello.
And a child shall lead them to buy merch.
We're going to do Cell Dweller, the last firstborn, for the big homie Brian. So if everybody's ready for this.
This should be interessante.
Are you ready, Vin?
Yeah, I'm deciding what I'm going to do about that crying baby.
Well, Sayla's with him.
Well.
He's in that phase where he does that screamy thing. He'll just scream.
Cell Dweller, come back, you dumb bastard.
was so good. So painful, but so good. Wow.
Yeah.
What did you think?
That song was, well, I mean, the subject matter is obviously pretty heavy. Mm-hmm. We've heard a couple songs from this band before.
Right.
And it's a one-man band, and he's literally like by himself doing all this stuff.
He's good. This one was really good.
But yeah, I mean, this is it's really fascinating to me, like how one person can get all those instruments together. Like, on the one hand, it's like, yeah, I think there's obviously something romantic about a bunch of teenagers in a garage.
For sure.
Fiddling around with their instruments and doing something great, and then boom, Metallica, Korn, whatever. But I also think, so there is something cool about that, and there is a real danger in, like, the hyper digitization of art, music, whatever, to where it's, like, kind of cheap. Mm-hmm. But so that's a drawback, but at the same time, it's fascinating to me that a guy can literally sit down like this and do everything we just heard.
Well, I think it's funny that people can master buttons without mastering an instrument.
Yeah, it's weird, like the first time I actually saw it in action was Peter, actually.
Yeah.
I put my some of my guitar, I put my guitar stuff on there, and we shot a video. It was literally like phone video, and then Jay goes in, puts his thing in there. We send the files to Peter, and then out pops this very well produced with drums that wasn't there before, and it sounds amazing. And I'm just like, holy shit, Peter's crazy. But like, that's what this guy does. And it's unbelievable. It's obviously lyrically, like, he had a lot to say.
Oh God, yeah. And
it was he put it out there. This is probably the most lyrical I've ever seen him.
Yeah, this is their longest. That's the longest lyric one that they have ever made. That sounded really weird the way it came out, because it's tripping me up that there's only one person in it. But yeah, that's the longest lyrical one that he's ever done. And I guess a lot of people believe, Brian was telling me about this, I guess a lot of people believe that apparently he had a twin brother that committed suicide. And so a lot of people believe that this guy, song, the artist, Clayton, that it was his twin brother suicide that probably
Jeez.
This is about, which is pretty crazy. He released a video answering fans' questions about suicide, and Brian wanted us to include it. So I wonder if that's like 3 or 4 minutes. Do you want to do that right now, or you want to hold off on that?
Yeah, we could do it. What's the name of the?
So it's right here. It's Ask Clayton, one off. Real talk about suicide.
Okay.
But yeah, when you look at it, of course, I had that information. Brian had given me that information before we did the review, which I didn't share it with you because I wanted you to be able to just experience it, like you like.
Yeah.
But having that information and hearing the song, like, it had such a great beat to it, had such a clear sound to it.
Yeah.
It made you feel like there should be some like cool air blowing on you, and you're like dancing with a bunch of cool lights and a bunch of people and stuff. It just had a really great vibe to it. But then it was like, wow, holy moly, like this is probably what people think that it is about. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna close the door.
I mean, it's a very interesting juxtaposition because you're talking about suicide. Normally, it's some sad, but I mean, there's a lot of anger here in this.
Right. Well, that's what Brian said. Brian said there was like a lot of anger that was expressed in it, and he also had said, the lyrics. Now I take my turn to bleed like a. Left alone outside. Many biblical saints and many Christians today have faced suicidal temptation, even though they loved God with all their hearts. And I believe this also is true of Clayton. And then he released that.
Holy moly!
Thing. But
so here's the actual. So this is him talking about the song, or
apparently.
Hey Clayton, so I from France, and I wanted to ask you a question. Simply, before asking the question, I wanted to tell you that thank you a lot for the tons of music you make every day, every month, every week, every year, everything, you know. You make tons of music. I don't know how you do that. It's incredible. So, no, my question is, if you had something to say about Chester Bennington suicide, like the Linkin Park singer has committed a suicide like 5 days ago now, so maybe you have something to say about it and something to tell us about Linkin Park in general, maybe for inspiration or anything, you know. So that's it.
Well, this is a really tough question to answer, and I debated whether I should answer it or how I would answer it. And I know this is way after the fact, and Chester is long gone, and so is Chris Cornell, and there are probably many others that aren't even famous, just everyday people. And when it comes to a topic like suicide, it's always a little dicey to handle, and something I have never admitted ever to most people that I even know, never mind on camera, but I'm about to admit to you, is that hold on. Ugh, I thought I can get through it. All right, you need to check. Good. That hit home personally for me, as it affected me and my family. As a family member of mine did commit suicide long time ago. Still painful. We don't really talk about it very much. And in hindsight, we can look back and say, wow, there were signs we could see now, but we couldn't see them then. And I think it's tough. And it's like, if you're on the other end of this camera and you're having a hard time, I'm not a guru. I don't know what to tell you, but I would say, tell somebody, seek help, just talk to somebody, because as bad as things are in your head, they're actually not that bad in reality. They only seem that way to you. And I've been there, I know. You can get into a dark spot in your head, but it's never dark to the point where you need to end your own life. I firmly believe that. And, you know, in a lot of ways it makes your life easier, because you go, I can't deal with this, so I'm going to end my life, but you're not thinking about the other people around you that it affects, and it does affect a lot of people around you. And you probably don't feel it. You probably feel like nobody cares, it doesn't matter. That's a complete lie. There are people that cares. Even if it's one person that cares, and I'm sure that it's more than that, but even if it's one, there's every reason in the world to not head down that path. So it is unfortunate that artists like that and people otherwise, you know, take the option of ending their own lives. But, you know, I've gotten many emails personally of people telling me that songs that I've written or lyrics that I've written have helped them get through a moment like that in their lives. And it's shocking to me, because to be honest, I look at my lyrics sometimes and go, wow, I'm surprised people aren't jumping off bridges after they read my lyrics. So I feel like they're really depressing. But that's how I've kind of dealt with these issues in my own life, is actually writing about them in my lyrics. So I hope that you can find artists like me, or really anyone else that you can relate to lyrically, that help bring you out of that. Maybe books or literature, anything else. But the best way is to talk to somebody, a real human being that maybe is going through something similar, or who can give you a different perspective that makes you realize that life is worth living.
That's good.
Well said.
Yeah, and, you know, I'm not going to talk much more, because I felt like what he said is so powerful. But it's, you know, there is a particular band, and there's only been one band historically that's been banned from this channel. Mm-hmm. And the reason is not because of the content. It's not the content. It's not even the suicidal content of what he does. It's that this guy had explicitly stated that he wants to destroy people, and he wants to inspire people to harm themselves with his music. Mm-hmm. And so I don't play around with that stuff. Like,
right.
Definitely you can hear something negative or bad. You can always turn it around. But like, when
A musician says...
Try to focus on what he's saying right now, because I know everybody's wheels are turning trying to figure out what band we won't do. But this is very important.
Yeah, when a person says, my goal is to destroy my constituency, like, I don't play around with that. Because I know how powerful music is.
Right.
And I know when I was in a state of... Music can save you, and it can also be the last little nudge you need. Mm-hmm. And
Absolutely.
so artists all the time, they love to do that. They love to say, hey, I didn't tell anybody to do blah, blah, blah. But you got to take... You got to take that responsibility. And so that's why I loved what he said. Like, he's like, yo, my lyrics are dark and they're depressing. Nobody has a problem with dark and depressing lyrics. I don't have a problem with... We've covered literally hundreds of suicidal songs here.
Yeah.
But what I will not do is be party to a person encouraging other people to harm themselves and then giving that guy a platform. Like, I'm just not gonna... It's never gonna happen. But suicide is a real thing, and I thought the song... I mean, I'm not gonna rate the song because it's just... The song caught me off guard a little bit because Cell Dweller is like a... I have fun every time I review one of their songs, so it was definitely like one of these, like... Getting a left hook to your right side is extremely rare, but extremely painful because you're almost never prepared for it. And so, but it's really interesting. We talked about his family wouldn't talk about it. Like,
yeah,
you know, I've talked about multiple members related to me that have done themselves in, but I'm almost certain that my family is never going to have that conversation. Like, it's just not going to happen. And I just know we're just not going to, we don't talk about any of this shit. So,
Is there strategy behind that, or is it just...
No, it's just, that's how our family system operated. We saw crazy shit and everybody went on like nothing happened. So, you know, this is no different, but it's just, we're never gonna have that conversation, and I know that, and that's, you know, whatever. I don't know if it's good or bad. I just know that that's what it is. But yeah, man, this shit is...
I thought it was a really important song because to me, what I got when he was singing this and everything, I felt like he was dealing with the way that he was feeling because of it.
Yeah.
And this
definitely
was his way of not killing himself, was to actually produce this song.
Definitely.
That's, you know, what I was getting. And then, like, just, you know, obviously the things that he said, like, just thinking about the last things that the person said and wondering and all the questions that go with it and the question marks in your heart and then things that you missed and just the painful way that can be. I think that he really captured that. But then he said, like, he was wondering where his brother is. You know, that was...
Yeah, and I feel like this guy
Where are you? What do you think? Because I'm not sure what I'm... Like, when he gets close to the point of suicide himself, then he's like, well, where the hell is my brother anyway?
Well, I'm not sure if that specific line is about suicide as far as his own...
I'm not sure when I'm knocking at death's door.
Yeah, if I'll be welcome in or left alone outside.
I think he's saying, if I kill myself like you did, will I be left alone? Because he said, I wonder if I have the balls at all or if I'm going to be afraid. Where are you? What do you think? Because I'm not sure when I'm knocking at death's door.
Yeah, I just interpreted that as he doesn't know what God's going to do for him, to him, or with him after he dies. So that is a deterrent from suicide. But that doesn't mean that that's the only consideration. There's lots of people who don't know what God's going to do with them. Mm-hmm. And so that stops them from killing themselves, but that's not the only... Like, there are people that believe if I kill myself, I'm going to go to hell. Like, I'm good with God now, but if I kill myself, I'll go to hell. I don't think that's what he's saying. What I think he's saying is, I don't know where I'm at with God.
Yeah, I didn't.
So it would be ridiculous for me to kill myself. I don't know where I'm at with God, so how could I do that? You see the difference?
Oh, no, I don't think he's... I think that... Yeah.
No, I know what you think, and you're not crazy to think. I'm just saying, like, me, I don't necessarily think that that specific line is talking about his own suicide. I just think when a person is unstable in their relationship with God, or especially people who have some sort of religion but they're not very religious, they end up thinking that they're not in a good space with God anyway. So if you're not in a good space with God, then you're not gonna take that kind of a risk if you believe that God is real, is what I'm saying. But I definitely see your interpretation of it too. But I mean, those are really, really deep questions. And you know, every time people ask me that question in public, I never answer it in public. Because I learned.
There's no way you can answer
I
something
learned
like
a
that.
very, very hard lesson. And after that, I'm like, I'm never gonna answer that question like that ever again.
Yeah.
And there are ways to deal with it. And you know, one of the things that was instructive to me was John Piper. He did a funeral for one of the folks that committed suicide in his church, but he did a closed funeral with just the family. And that, at least for the beginning, when he was doing the little send-off thing, it was only the family. And I think that that's really, really important.
I agree.
So if you had a family member, I'm not going to say that. Here, what I will say is that the scripture says that the Lord is gracious and compassionate, slow to anger, and rich in love. He is good to all. He has compassion on all that he has made. So, you know, I the most I'll say is, that's what the. I think we're back. It should be interesting in the editing.
Another little Spectrum issue. Oh, you didn't
Surprise!
hit resume?
Surprise! Oh no, it's resumed. It's right there.
Oh, it's 2 separate videos though.
I don't know how it's gonna do it when we go to upload it. I don't know if it's uploaded already. In which case,
How rude of Spectrum to interrupt such an important
yeah, I know.
video.
No, I think it's gonna go as one file. So we'll see in a second. Inshallah,
Right,
inshallah.
well, we're back.
Inshallah.
Fuck you very much, Spectrum. Anyway, so you were saying
They're the
you were
worst.
like literally in the middle of talking when it died. I think you were gonna say something about murder.
Yeah, the last act, if you commit suicide, the
he's-
last act that you have done is murder before you go to meet God.
He said the killer straight up and a body face down.
Yeah,
To me, that
firstborn.
was like your.
Firstborn, last one. So if that was his brother, that would mean it was his older brother, right? Firstborn, last one. So if that was his twin brother, then that would mean that his twin brother came out first, and I tend to agree that that's probably what happened because he's a grown man and it happened years ago. Mm-hmm. Well, he said a very long time ago. Mm-hmm. But he's still obviously very affected by it. And so...
How could you not be? I think that any death of someone that's close to you is going to be painful. It's going to be even more painful if it was suicide. And then it wasn't... Like, I think that a brother committing suicide would be extremely painful. But like a twin brother? You shared a womb?
Oh, yeah, like I said, like, I've lost a couple people. But if it was my brother...
That you shared a womb with.
My little brother is not even.
You gotta intensify it even more.
Right. No, yeah, I agree. But and you know, me and my little brother did not like have a Hollywood relationship when we were kids. But if anything would have ever, even back then, if anything ever happened to my little brother, like me and him were at war, and then like I think our cousin came up or something like that, and he hit my brother and made him cry. I said, "What happened to you?" He said, "Neil hit me." I said, "What?" Or beat the hell out of that kid. And then his mom went to my mom, and my mom was like, "Vincent whomped you." I was like, I said, "I don't care, Ma. I'll get in trouble, whatever."
Yeah.
He hit Jamie, whatever.
Yeah.
And thankfully, my stepdad stepped in. "Hey, Bev, leave him alone." He said, "Leave him alone, Beverly." Then he looked at me, gave me a little wink. Shout out to the homie.
Well, yeah, because that was his son. He's like, "Yeah, you protected my boy."
So if anything would happen to my brother, my other brother right now has gone dark. He's got another one of those little exotic little assignments and you know, until I hear, you know, it's one of those things, man. Like I wish I was over there. It's like ridiculous. Like you already did your time. You know, it's not your turn. But yeah, like I'm not gonna be good until, you know, I get a text back from him in a week or so. It's the same thing when he was in places. You know, like
Yeah.
it's so much harder to be the family member
On this side.
Oh my God! Like it's
yeah.
I wish he was in a different organization where he just wouldn't have to, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So he could. I just wish like, oh yeah, he works at a call center. Oh, he's fine.
Yeah.
He's going on. That would be great. I'd love that.
Yeah.
But yeah. So if anything would happen to my brother, like, I don't know. I find it very hard to believe that. Yeah, I'm not sure. It would something happened to my brother like that. That would. So. Yeah, all the relationships are just so different.
Yeah.
Like I've got a sister, and you know, me and Dorian were having a conversation. He and his sister had a conflict, and I said, look, man. You guys used to share cribs. You used to put your fan on her, which was a big thing because Dorian he loves being cool
Yeah.
and he's selfish as hell. And I'm like, don't you remember you used to do that? And he started crying. It's just all these and like having a sister like that protection that you feel, and it's just fun to have a little. And honestly, like she had this ritual for a couple years where she'd call me once a year and ask me for something. Vin, can I have an iPod? Or can I have a... One time I was a puppy. I had to buy her a puppy. It was like $600, something like that. Like, she
still has it, though.
She still has... And honestly, she could call me every single year and ask me for something. I would give it to her. Like, no questions asked.
100%.
But she doesn't know that, apparently. But, yeah, man. Like, I could definitely... I don't want to speculate, and he hasn't, like, come out and said it's his brother, so I want to respect that, but... He did say as a family member, obviously it had some impact on him. And for the rest of everybody, man, like, there are people who are so alone that they don't know that they would have been valuable to other people because they didn't give other people a chance. So, in other words, we hear all the time, oh, the village, blah, blah, blah. We got really good friends here, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, now that person has a network of friends and people that they can reach out to and get affirmation and connection in our community, which I'm eternally grateful for. But if they would have took themselves out a month before they signed up, and you don't have to sign up, facebook.com/Vin and Sori, and we'll find a way to get you connected because there's like a bunch of little subgroups in our community. But like if you would have took yourself out 2 months prior to meeting everybody, then you would have completely deprived the group, the village of you, and you would have been deprived of us, vice versa. And so I generally don't say, like, there's somebody that loves you, because there are people. We've ran into people who are completely anonymous, completely forgotten. What I will say is, if you give humanity a chance, if you give us another day, you will find somebody who will. Especially now in the environment that we're in. I think people are a lot more open to taking mental health very seriously. It's like DMX said.
Yeah.
DMX said that God put us all in timeout with COVID, where you had to stay home, you couldn't do the rat race, and you had to sit down and think and contemplate. And that's why we saw a spike in suicides because of COVID. But the other side of that could be more
now
of us.
We can have more sympathy toward other people that are feeling you know.
And
I feel like it kind of mocked or mimicked the way that mental health can feel, because you're trapped inside, you can't get to other people. Then like the social issues, like when you went out in public wanting to distance yourself, and like a lot of people have those issues just naturally every day of their lives. And some people avoid going to the store.
That's such a good point.
Yeah,
and there's a movie we're watching. The girl's agoraphobic. She's scared to death of human beings.
Yeah.
And there is a sort of like meta level agora. you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's crazy because the mask mandate got lifted on Monday. So you're walking through Walmart and people are still looking at you all weird or what. It's just like we're all in a weird sort of traumatized sort of thing now where people. And I think people are a lot more open to talking about mental health issues because now it's like a lot of the veneer has been stripped away, and people are looking at themselves and they're like, yo, I got a problem. We got a serious problem. So what I would say is, if your family has abandoned you, you don't have any friends now, you might be alone in the world, but I guarantee you this, there is a tribe. You know, that's one of the things at the beginning of the channel, Otep talked about finding your tribe. She talks to these LGBT kids who were, you know, being driven to suicide for obvious reasons. And she encourages them by saying, you're going to find your tribe. And I think that is so powerful.
Yeah.
Like, you will find your tribe if you give us another day. You know, a lot of times, like, anytime suicide comes up, we always say, like, give yourself one more day, try one more day for yourself. But the other side of it is, you know, if you give yourself one more day, then you're giving a community that needs you somewhere, that needs you. I cannot tell you how many times Peter, Zonia, Ian, Leah, these are all people, Tina, these are all people we met in our community who've been very, very helpful to us in very strategic times. And there have been times we, you know, a couple of, you know, one of them was in trouble, some pretty serious trouble about a week ago. And it was crazy. People were hitting me up and all, like, one guy texted me because he had my number. Somebody else messaged me. Another person put it up on the channel. And everybody made sure that person got the help and the attention that they needed. And, you know, I was just like blown away. Like, these are people who are separated by hundreds of miles in different states and countries and continents. And one of their folks was in trouble, and the whole community immediately, you know, and people were like, yo, Vin's got to know about this. So, and it's not just me. This stuff happens all the time in our community. I'm very, very grateful for it. And, you know, we've had people express to us that, hey, man, I was on the line and you guys encouraged me to stay another day. So if that's you, we appreciate it. This is a very, very good song, and it's important to raise awareness about it, because the more we talk about it, the less it becomes stigmatized, and the less it becomes stigmatized, the better shot everybody has at getting through all this bullshit. Holy moly. So it's a good song. Silent count for me.
Yeah, it's an 11 for me, because I think it's really important. I think that it's good for people to know that they're not alone. I think it's important to feel what it is to feel when people are in these situations, people that haven't been in the situation, to kind of get some perspective of where other people are coming from. I also think that if anybody struggles with suicide, then this can make you think too, well, this guy that wrote this song is still alive, you know, like he expressed this level of pain and this level of understanding of the topic, and yet he still found a reason. So, you know. Yeah. And he said too that, like, a lot of times people will be like, hey, like, you're the reason I didn't do this or that thing. And I think that, you know, everybody can be that sort of person for somebody else if we're looking for opportunities. So you don't have to look very far to find pain in our world. And so just looking for ways, small ways, big ways, to alleviate or eliminate or lift somebody else's pain is important. Ways to feel, like, to be kind to people around us, because you don't know what people are going through. You don't know, you know, what was going on at home when the woman left to go to the grocery store and now she seems all grouchy. Well, you don't know what happened at home or whatever, you know, like, just understanding where people are at, and that everybody's dealing and fighting their own battles. And so I think it's a very important song. So it's an 11 for me. Plus, I loved the sound of it. It's a shame that it's such a horrible topic, because honest to goodness, I would love to listen to this song and just kind of like rock out in the car and stuff while I'm driving around. But I'm like, that's the messaging. I don't know.
There you are, dear listener. So the moral of the story is, give us another day, huh?
Yeah.
You're gonna find your tribe.
Brian, thanks for this song and for sending the video so we could hear Clayton talk himself. That was really impactful, and so thank you for that. Anyway.
And the other thing too is, one of the way, you know, Sori talked about helping, and some people are like, oh my God, like, I can't. One of the most helpful things you can do is simply tell your story. If you've ever had a suicidal ideation or thought or whatever, you try to do it, whatever, or you lost somebody, that's why I made it such a priority at the very beginning to talk about it every single time it came up, and to personalize and talk about my specific family. Mm-hmm. I don't name the people that did it, because quite frankly, there are people that cannot, to this day, on both sides, deal with the ramifications of what happened. So that's the only reason. But that's why I say it all the time, because even that is helpful to people. So I commend that to you. There you are, dear listener. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Gone.